Next one is landscaping house cleaning. Think about this through the eyes of a resident. I live in a house and I'm already renting from Evernest. And frankly, we don't do this today, but as I'm thinking about like our pipeline here of what we're doing, it makes a lot of sense for us to provide services that benefit them for the house. And so the first two I could come up with were landscaping and house cleaning. If you had a relationship with a landscaper, which we obviously do when the houses are vacant, or you had a relationship with a house cleaner, which we obviously do when the houses are vacant, then it makes sense for us to basically broker those services out to our residents and because it makes it the easy button. And then maybe you can just pay the vendor and include it on their rent. There are services, call it cable. There's things at all houses that people are buying. And I want you to start thinking bigger and thinking more like a business owner than just a property manager. You're more than just a property manager. You're trying to solve problems, which is what most property managers do, and then make it easier for residents to live. And so landscaping and house cleaning would be something very simple to do. The fourth thing here is liability insurance. We require all of our residents to get liability insurance. And this is like in case they do something through some sort of negligence or screw something up and it burns down the house or something bad happens to the house. But why don't we offer that? Since it's required, why don't we give them an option to choose us or one of our partners to do that? And there's that, look, it is insurance, so you need to make sure that you're doing it in conjunction with state laws around insurance, but you want to but there is a way you can certainly make money by managing this program. And liability insurance is something that all residents are buying, and they frankly would rather hit the easy button and buy it from you. And then the last thing is security deposit alternative. Look, this is things around the financial services piece of the business. Security deposit alternative is just one thing, maybe figuring out a way to help them pay maybe a little bit more money, but rent weekly or something. Like there's all sorts of ways. Again, make sure that you're abiding by any state landlord and tenant law, but a security deposit alternative just basically says there are plenty of programs out there that allow you to essentially collect a monthly fee instead of collecting the security deposit. And that's a good thing for the resident because it allows them to have that cash to move. As it's like really expensive to move these days, and they're going to need cash for things like for getting their utilities turned on, their water, their power. They're going to need cash for furniture, for the extra room that they just rented. There's just all sorts of things they need cash for. And so if you provided a way for them to not have to give you some of their cash, then that's just a great way to do that. Spencer, I've talked a lot. I feel like I'm like owning this whole thing myself. I'm a little nervous that people are probably going to get tired of me. There's not a lot of back and forth.
No, why don't we answer some questions? There's not a lot of back and forth. You built the slides though, so you know them really well. You want to answer some questions?
Yeah, I think my point was I'm only paying you half price for this webinar.
Not fee.
All right, let's do some questions. Yeah. Do you manage properties in Southern California? We do not manage properties in Southern California. Next one is, many RVPs offer pest control. In my experience, we have always had owners handle pests, so this is a big transfer to residents. Who normally bears the cost, residents or owners? Great question, Tracy. The way I think about this is if a resident moves in and there are pest problems, and I don't know, you can is that 30 days? Is that 2 weeks? Is that 1 week? There's clearly we need to take care of that, right? However, my experience has been pests typically go where the people are, and my experience has been that the pests are usually as a result of the folks living in the house, and that they should ultimately be responsible for it. I've never met a roach that if there wasn't food sitting out, that if a vacant house just doesn't, it does have roaches, I get it, but it's typically because the house was nasty before, and it's because somebody had too much food or something sitting out. I guess at the end of the day, I think of this as definitely a resident thing. A house doesn't in and of itself have to have bugs. And yeah, it may be a switch for you. And look, there are times where we want to keep the resident happy. And even though we think it may be the resident's fault, that we'll take care of pest control.
Have you ever had any roach problems at any rental houses you've managed, Matthew, or owned?
The first house you sold me when you got me into this business had a horrible flea problem.
That's right.
And I'll tell you a horror story of pests there real quick. We bought a house one time and then put a resident. I'm sorry. A resident moved out of the house. It was winter. And then we cleaned it. It looked great, put a resident in it. And then it got warm. So it went from cold to warm. And immediately it hatched a bunch of flea eggs and just completely engulfed this poor person. And it was horrible. We had to get the house and
They had to bomb it. Did you have to put them up somewhere?
yes. Yeah, we had to put them up somewhere. This was one of those things where it was clearly our fault. We didn't know. We did the best we could. But if you live in a cold environment and then it gets warm, for those fleas will basically lay dormant. Their eggs, it seems like they'll lay dormant until it gets warm and then all of a sudden they'll hatch.
We also have a bad problem in Birmingham, in some places, with German roaches, and those things are rough.
Yeah, it's hard to tell what they're saying too because they speak German and I don't speak German, but they're rough. Yeah, they're hard.
Dad joke, everybody. Dad joke.
I thought it was a good one.